Hare Krishna. We welcome everyone to this Wednesday evening program. Um, so we'll start with a small kirtan today, and we'll sing the Dasavatar stotra. So the Dasavatar stotra is yeah, we can go to the translations. So the name it's as it states Dasa Avatar. So the 10 avatars of um, Krishna, and so this was so if you go to the first page, yeah. So this is from the Gita Govinda, and it was written by Jayadev Goswami. First, let's read to the translations, and then we will go and we'll sing it, and then we'll continue with this. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a fish, all glories to you. You easily acted as a boat in the form of a giant fish to give protection to the Vedas, which had sunk in the turbulent sea of devastation. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a tortoise, all glories to you. The great Mount Mandar rests upon your gigantic back, which acts as a pivot for churning the ocean of milk, and which has thus been marked with a large circular scar-like depression. In this way, your back has become most glorious. O Kesava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a boar, all glories to you. The earth, which had sunk to the bottom of the Garbha ocean, sits fixed upon the tip of your tusk, like a spot upon the moon. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a half man, half lion, all glories to you. With the wonderfully sharp nails on your beautiful lotus hands, you have ripped apart the wasp-like body of Hiranyakashipu. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a wonderful dwarf Brahman, all glories to you. With your massive steps, you deceive King Bali, and with the Ganges water emanating from the nails of your lotus feet, you deliver all living beings in this world. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Brigupati Parshuram, all glories to you. You bathe the earth in the rivers of blood from the bodies of the demoniac Kshatriyas you have slain. In this way, you wash away the sins of the world and give relief to those who suffer in material existence. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Ramachandra, all glories to you. In the battle of Lanka, you destroy the 10-headed demon Ravan and distribute his heads as a delightful offering to the presiding deities of the 10 directions, a feat long desired by them all, whom that monster had much harassed. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of plough-wielding Balram, all glories to you. On your brilliant white body, you wear garments colored like a fresh rain cloud, and the river Yamuna, whom you frighten with the blows of your plough. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Buddha, all glories to you. Your heart filled with compassion, you decry animal slaughter performed according to the scriptural rules of Vedic sacrifice. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Kalki, all glories to you. Like a comet bearing an indescribably terrifying sword, you annihilate the wicked barbarian kings at the end of Kali Yuga. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed these 10 different incarnations, all glories to you. O readers, please hear this most excellent hymn by the poet Jadev, for it bestows happiness and good fortune and is the best thing in this dark world. O Krishna, O Lord Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you who incarnate in these 10 forms. In the form of Matsya, you rescue the Vedas. As Kurma, you bear the Mount Mandar on your back. As Varaha, you lift the earth on your tusk. As Narsingha, you tear open the chest of the demon Hiranyakashipu. As Vaman, you trick King Bali. As Parashuram, you slay all the wicked Kshatriyas. As Ramachandra, you defeat Ravan, the son of Pulastya. As Balram, you carry a plough. As Lord Buddha, you show compassion toward all. And as Kalki, you kill the malicious. Okay. So, so it's recommended that we sing this in the morning and evening. So you can just sing behind muted mics. प्रलयपयोब्धि जले धृतवानसि वेदम् विहितवहित्रचरित्रमखेदम् केशवधृतमीन शरीर जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे स्त्रियः विपुलतरे तिष्ठति तव पृष्ठे धरणी धारण कीन चक्रगरिष्ठे केशवधृत कुर्म शरीर जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे वसति दशन शिखरे धरणी तव लग्न शशनी कलंक कलेवनिमग्न केशवधृत शुकर रूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमल वरे नखम अद्भुत शृंगम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गम् केशवधृता नरहरि रूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे चलयसि विक्रमणे बलिमद्भुतवामन पदनख नीरजनित जन पावन केशवधृत वामन रूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे चलयसि विक्रमणे बलिमद्भुतवामन पदनख नीरजनित जन पावन केशवधृत वामन रूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे प्रिय रुधिरमये जगदपगत पापम् संपयसि पयसि समित भवतापम् केशवधृत भृगुपति रूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे शशि दिक्षुरणे दिक्पति कमनीयम् दशमुखमौलिबलिं रमणीयम् केशवधृता रामशरीर जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे हसि वपुषि विशदे वशनं जलदाभम् हलहति भीतिमिलिता यमुनाभम् केशवधृता हलधर रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे निंदासि यज्ञविधेरहः श्रुतिजातम् सदय हृदय दर्शिता पशुघातम् केशवधृता बुद्ध शरीर जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे गच्छामि वाहनि धने कलयसि करवालम् धूमकेतुमिव किमपि करालम् केशवधृता कल्की शरीर जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय देव कवेरिदमुदितमुदारम् शृणु सुखदं सुभदं भवसारम् केशवधृता दशविधरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे उदानुदारते जगन्ति वहते भूगोलमुद्बिभ्रते दैत्यं धारयते बलिं चलयते शत्रक्षयं कुर्वते औलस्त्यं जयते हलं कलयते कारुण्यमातन्वते लेचान्मूर्छयते दश कृते कृष्णाय तुभ्यं नमः लेचान्मूर्छयते दश कृते कृष्णाय तुभ्यं नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. So we welcome everybody, all those who have joined on Zoom and online as well. So thank you very much for joining. So we will start with Mangalacharan prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुक्तपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मत्समो नास्ति पापात्मा नापराधी च कश्चन परिहारेऽपि लज्जामि किं ब्रुवे पुरुषोत्तम। युवतीनां यथा यूनि यूनां च युवतौ यथा मनोभिरमते तद्वन् मनो मे रमतां त्वयि। Bhumau skalitapadanam bhumirevavalambanam tvai jata paradhanam tvam eva sharanam prabho. Govinda vallabhe radhe prarthe tvam aham sada swadiyam iti janata govindo mam tvaya saha. राधे वृंदावनाधीशे करुणामृतवाहिनी कृपया निजपादाब्ज दास्यं मह्यं प्रदीयतम्. Hare Krishna. So the topic for today is Krishna is the source of everything. So we'll be talking about this particular verse from the Bhagavad-gita, 10th chapter, 8th verse. So before we go into this verse, brief introduction about the Bhagavad-gita. So Bhagavad-gita, as we all know, um, was spoken between Arjuna and Krishna, and the setting is of a battlefield. So, so there are two armies on each side of the battlefield, and Arjuna, he wanted to, he is forced to fight with um, his um, his relatives, his cousins, his brothers, um, um, his great grandfather, and so his charioteer is Krishna, and he wants to see who all are there on the battlefield whom he has come to fight, and he asks Krishna to place the chariot in front of the armies, and he wants to see who all have come there. And so at that point, Arjuna has a nervous breakdown, and he's starting to think that uh, this is he has to fight with his brothers and his cousin brothers and his teacher, his martial arts teacher, and he doesn't want to do so. And he says that if I'm supposed to fight them, even if we get or whatever we get the kingdom, it will all be tainted with blood. And he does not want to fight. And at that moment, he surrenders to Krishna. And so Krishna, first thing he says, Kutasya kasmalam idam vishame samupastitam, is in this hour of need, where has this impurities come within you? Anarya jishtam aswargyam akirti karam Arjuna. So this is anarya. This does not behoove those who are of the royal race, who are really advanced, who are Rajarishis. It does not suit them. And then he smiles. And actually, Arjuna then completely surrenders to Krishna, and he says that Sisyasteham, I become your disciple, and you please enlighten me. What is my duty? And I'm completely flustered. I'm completely confused about my duty. So, so then Krishna gives the quintessential instruction, the most important instruction. He says that um, um, you are not this body. You are so the body, which is made of these five elements, earth, water, fire, and ether, is already dead, and you, the spirit soul, um, you are eternal. The spirit soul does not die. And he says that he goes on to say Vasam Shijirnani Yatha Vihaya and all those verses, which says that just like one gives up an old dress and um, and takes on a new dress, similarly, the living entity gives up an old body and takes on a new body. And he goes on to say that the soul is eternal. And so on and so forth. So Bhagavad Gita, then we go, and then Krishna goes and elaborates about a lot about karma yoga, and then he speaks about Ashtanga yoga. And so in the middle 6 chapters, he speaks specifically about bhakti yoga. So he speaks about the process of devotional service. And in that, this chapter 10, which is specifically called the opulences of the absolute. And in chapter 10, there are these 4 verses, um, starting from 10.8, 9, 10, and 11. So these are the 4 seed verses. So they are called also the Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita. And we'll see that this first 2 verses, the 10.8 and 9, so they tell about how the devotee should approach Krishna, and then the next 2 verses about how Krishna reciprocates. So we'll go ahead and we'll read. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva vajante mam buddha bhava samanvitah. Is there anyone would like to recite?
I think you need to share the presentation. I can't see the presentation.
You can see. Is it visible
Yes.
now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you have to start the slideshow.
Yeah, I just wanted to see. I can see. Anyone would like to recite?
Yes, Prabhuji, can I do it?
Sure, please go ahead.
Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitah.
Thank you so much, Madam. Anyone else would like to recite? Maybe one more.
Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitah.
Thank you. Okay, so this is. Okay. So we'll go to the word to word synonyms. Aham, I, Sarvasya, of all, Prabhavaha, the source of generation, Mattaha, from me, Sarvam, everything, Pravartate, emanates, Iti, thus, Matva, knowing, Bhajante, become devoted, Mam, unto me, Buddha, the learned, Bhava Samanvita, with great attention. Translation. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literatures agree that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.24, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidadati Purvam Yo Vai Vedamscha Gapayati Sma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again, the Narayana Upanishad says, Atho Purusha Havai Narayano Kamayata Praja Srijeti. Then the Supreme Personality Narayan desired to create living entities. The Upanishads continues, Narayanat Brahma Jayate, Narayanat Prajapati Prajayate, Narayanat Indra Jayate, Narayanat Ashtau Vasavo Jayante, Narayanat Ekadash Rudra Jayante, Narayanat Dvadas Adityaha. From Narayana, Brahma is born. From Narayana, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayana, Indra is born. From Narayana, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayana, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayan, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayan is an expansion of Krishna. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanya Devaki Putraha, the son of Devaki Krishna, is the Supreme Personality. Narayana Upanishad 4. Then it is said, Eko vai Narayana Asinna Brahma Neshano Napi Nagno Napo Nagni Somo Neme Dvau A Prithvi Na Nakshatrani Na Surayah. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality Narayan. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no heaven, and no earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. Maha Upanishad 1.2. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said, that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, Krishna also says, Prajapatim cha rudram chapi aham eva sajamyavai tau hi mam na vijanito mama maya vimohito. The patriarchs, Shiva and others, are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Vara Puran, it is also said, Narayana paro devas tasmad jatas chaturmukha tasmad rudro bhavad devah sacha sarva gyatam gataha. Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, and from whom Shiva was born. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations. He is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me. No one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master with references from Vedic knowledge engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad-gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So Krishna here emphatically declares, I am Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. So I am the source of everything. I am the source of spiritual and material worlds. So in the Brahma Samhita also we see Sarva Karana Karanam. Lord Brahma also says there, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. So he says Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Elsewhere also we find in the 14th chapter, 4th verse, he says, Aham Bija Pradapita. So Krishna is the seed-giving father of all living entities. So, so first of all, one needs to know how great is Krishna. So this chapter especially lists all the opulences of Krishna and who Krishna is. One needs to understand who Krishna is. And then it will be easy to surrender to Krishna. Once we know how Krishna is, how great he is, then one can surrender. And so Krishna here says, the wise who perfectly know this engage in devotional service and worship with all their hearts. So then one can engage the next step to engage in devotional service. So present. So Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. So when Krishna says um, he is the source of everything, he is the source of all the material world, is source of everything. So Srila Prabhupada gives this example um, of a potter and a pot. So somebody may see, so when a potter, he makes a pot, so there is a wheel on which is turned, and then there's some clay on top of it, and the potter gives shape to the pot. Somebody can see the pot and then say that the pot came from earth, which is correct. But earth is not the ultimate cause. So earth is synonym to material nature. So material nature is the immediate cause, but the wise would know that the potter who gave shape to the pot, he is the remote cause. So we'll just briefly go to this verse and read that particular section, which Prabhupada explains here. So yeah, we just read, we just quoted this verse from Brahma Samhita 5.1. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin. And he is the prime cause of all causes. Although he is the supreme cause, the cause of all causes, he is still Parama, or transcendental, and his form is Sachidananda, which is eternal spiritual bliss. Krishna is the shelter of everything, and this is the verdict of all scripture. Krishna is the remote cause, and material nature is the immediate cause of cosmic manifestation. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that understanding Prakriti or nature to be the cause of everything is like understanding the nipples on the neck of a goat to be the cause of milk. Material nature is the immediate cause of the cosmic manifestation, but the original cause is Narayan, Krishna. Sometimes people think that the cause of an earthen pot is the earth. We see on a potter's wheel a sufficient amount of earth to produce many pots. And although unintelligent men will say that earth on the wheel is the cause of the pot, those who are actually advanced will find that the original cause is the potter, who supplies the earth and moves the wheel. Material nature may be a helping factor in the creation of this cosmic manifestation, but it is not the ultimate cause. And Prabhupada quotes, Maya Dakshina Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. This material nature is working under my direction as son of Kunti and producing all moving and non-moving things. So in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is description of how the creation takes place. So we have the three Purushas. The first is Mahavishnu, and then Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and then Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. So from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, from his navel, um, a lotus flower sprouts, and on there Lord Brahma is born. So the creation, it's also mentioned. So initially, so Lord, the Supreme Lord himself, he he provides all the ingredients for the creation. So and and then when he glances on material nature, then the living entities, Saikshata, the living entities are impregnated into material nature. And it is the Lord who, by his potency, binds everything. And Lord Brahma is a secondary creator. He creates whatever ingredients have been provided, he creates from that. So Narayan is the original cause of creation. So that's also mentioned there. Okay. So we just read that section of the purport. So we'll move ahead. So a further example can be given here, which is relevant to us. So for example, one can take gallon of milk. To get a gallon of milk, one can go to a store, for example, Whole Foods, and get a gallon of milk from there. But then one can question, where is the source of the milk? And then one can say, oh, it's Whole Foods. But then where did Whole Foods get it from? They got it probably from the dairy. So one can go ahead and question, okay, where did dairy get their milk? So obviously they got it from the cow. And how did cow produce the milk? She ate grass. So from the grass, by nature's arrangement, they can convert it into milk, which is really nourishing first-class food. So next one can go ahead and question, where did the grass come from? And so the grass came from rains. Here we see a bunch of grass and some rain on top of it. So, and then one can question next, where did the rain come from? So the rain comes from clouds. And how the clouds form? The clouds are formed from the ocean by the sun's rays. And so where did sun get its energy from? And so here you can see the ocean and the sun really huge and vast, is somewhere on the western coast of California. So this is the sun. If you see, the sun has intense energy. This was a recent picture that was taken by one of the probes that was sent by NASA to the sun. And you can see that there are huge flames shooting out from the surface. And for comparison, this is the size of the Earth. And so we can see an intense orb of fire containing intense energy. So where does it get its energy from? And here we have from the Sri Brahma Samhita 552. Yachakshuresha savita sakala grahanam raja samasta suramurti rasesha teja yasyagnaya brahmati sambrita kala chakro govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So Lord Brahma is saying that the sun is the eye of the Lord, and yes, Agyaya. So whose Agya the sun is mounting on its journey? Kala Chakro. Yasagna Brahmati. Brahmati means to go, to move. Sambrita Kala Chakro. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. On that Govindam, I offer my respectful obeisances. So here we see the last connection. The sun is getting its energy from Govinda, from Krishna. So we see Krishna is the he is the origin of everything. He is the source. He is called Bhagavan. Bhagavan means who's the possessor of 6 opulences. So his the 6 opulences are listed by Parasara Muni: Aiswaryasya, Samagrasya, Veerasya, Yasasya, Shriya, and so on and so forth. He has all strength, all knowledge, all wealth, all fame, all beauty, and all renunciation. So no one can claim that one has all of these. So no one can claim I have all the knowledge of the world, or I have all the strength of the world, I have all beauty, or all fame, or all renunciation. It's only Krishna who can claim that. And in Bhagavad-gita also we can see that in the 2nd chapter, as soon as so when Dhritarashtra seeks, Vyasadeva says Dhritarashtra Uvacha, when Arjuna says Arjuna Uvacha, but when Krishna says, it is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So Sri Bhagavan, because he is the supreme personality of Godhead, so Vyasadeva acknowledged there. Okay, so we saw Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. Next, let's see the next part. Mattaha Sarvam Pravartate. From me, everything emanates. So these are the 4 verses which are related. So we'll just go briefly over each of them. This is from the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. So the first verse: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. All together, these 8 constitute my separated energies. So Krishna says this: Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhir evacha ahankara itiyam me bhinna prakritir ashtada. So so Krishna here says these are his separated energies. So earth, water, fire, air, ether. So these are the Panchamahabhut. So these are the things which we can see. And then we have the mind. The purpose of the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. intelligence or buddhi, just sort of like the adult in the room, and then the false ego or ahankar. So Srila Prabhupada also mentions that there is a true ego. So the false ego is basically, which we'll also see in the next verse, um, it means to lord it over material nature. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a question that is asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukdev Goswami, that the living entity, he is foreign to this material nature, and what is it that causes the living entity which is foreign to this material nature to get bound um, in this energy, which Krishna says as bhinna prakriti ashtada. So there he says that it is mamaham, mama and aham is I and mine. So when one thinks that I am this car, ahamkar, I am this car, I am I am this home belongs to me, this belongs to me, that belongs to me. So this ahankar, so that is false ego. Whereas what is true ego? So true ego is that is stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jivara Swarupaya Krishna Nityadas. When one is established in the true ego as a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that we are meant to love and serve him. So that is the true ego. So when one is established in the true ego, one can break free from the cycles. So one other thing that one can actually understand in this, so our body, which is made of these 5 things, earth, water, fire, ether, is actually dead matter, and one can see for oneself that, for example, one's hand, the hand is like a really a very advanced contraption. It's sort of there are ligaments, there are bones, that sort of functioning like a liver. And but if for any whatever costly reason, if that is dismembered or it's removed from the body, then it's useless. So we as a person, the living entity, he is different from this body. The living entity is distinct, and that which cannot be killed. So Krishna says in the second chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, the soul cannot be moistened by water, it cannot be cut by any weapon, it cannot be burnt by air, burnt by fire. It cannot be broken into pieces. So the soul is spiritual, and in quality, the soul is same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are same in quality. Soul is Satchidananda, but it is because of the influence of the 3 modes of material nature, so one is covered over. But the soul is different. So we are Anu and Krishna is Vibhu. We are minute and Krishna is Vibhu. He's huge. So in this purport, let's see. Okay, so we'll quickly go through. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord, in his different Purusha incarnations, expansions, as described in the Narada Pancharatra, one of the Satvata Tantras. Vishnustu trini rupani purushakhyani atho vidu ekam tu mahata srashtar dvitiyam tanda samstitam tatiyam sarvabhutastam tani gyatva vimuchyate. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as the Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Shivadakshayi Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading super soul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these three Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. This material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of material world are directed by these three Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and the living entities are the Purushas, the causes, controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad-gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahma Jyoti, which is the ultimate goal of impersonalists, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahma Jyoti as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas, and the impersonalist accepts this Brahma Jyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary, all-pervasive aspect of the Shivadakshayi Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna. He is the complete energetic person and he possesses different separated and internal energies. So, this section we kind of summarized the false ego and the true ego. We'll move to the few other slokas. We especially wanted to see 6 and 7. Besides these, O mighty Arjun, there is another superior energy of mine which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So Krishna says that the living entities are his superior energy. Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. So yayedam dharyate jagat. So the living entities are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So in the Kathopanishad, there is a it is stated that the human body, the body is compared to that of a tree, and in that tree there are two birds. One bird is Vishnu, who is there in the heart, and then the other bird is the living entity. And the living entity tries to eat the fruits of this body. And all that is needed is for the living entity to turn towards Krishna. And then he will be satisfied. But instead, if the living entity continues to eat the fruits of this body, that's the reason why one is dissatisfied in first place. Okay, let's go to the next verse. All created beings have their source in these two natures of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Know for certain that I am both the origin and dissolution. So here Krishna says, I am the origin and dissolution. So he's the, so in the purport, everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. Spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. Rather, this material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. This material body is developed because spirit is present within matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then to manhood because that superior energy, spirit soul, is present. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation of the gigantic universe is developed because of the presence of the super soul Vishnu. Therefore, spirit and matter, which combine to manifest this gigantic universal form, are originally two energies of the Lord. And consequently, the Lord is the original cause of everything. A fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely the living entity, may be the cause of a big skyscraper, a big factory, or even a big city, but it cannot be the cause of a big universe. The cause of the big universe is the big soul or the super soul, and Krishna, the Supreme, is the cause of both the big and small souls. Therefore, he is the original cause of all causes. This is confirmed in the Kathopanishad. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So we see that where there is a uh, soul, there are chemicals. It's not that the chemicals somehow combined and created life. For example, a lemon tree, we see that um, just because there is a spirit soul present, so we have a chemical, we have citric acid, which the lemon tree produces. Um, and similarly, Krishna is also called Atmanam Akhilatmanam. So he's the here where Prabhupada is saying the entire cosmic manifestation of the gigantic universe is developed because of the presence of the super soul Vishnu. So Vishnu is the super soul of the entire universe. That's one point. So finally, O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Sutre Mani Ganaiva. So Krishna says here that just like in a pearl, so sometimes if we see the string is invisible, the pearls are there, but one cannot see the string. So similarly, Krishna is there. Krishna's hand is there behind everything, and so the pearls, just like the pearls, are strung on a thread. So similarly, Krishna is there behind everything. So okay, we'll just continue in the interest of time. So this is I put it from the purport itself, which we read. It is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedams Jagapayati Sma Krishna. It was Krishna who, in the beginning, instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. So, when the creation took place, Brahma was created from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and so Brahma meditated for a few years, a few hundreds of years, and then um, the knowledge was revealed to Brahma. So we saw this also from the Narayana Upanishad. Lord Brahma is the Lord Brahma comes from Narayan. The Prajapatis come from Narayan. Indra comes from Narayan. The Vasus, the Rudras, the Adityas, everybody. Narayan is the source. So at this point, are there any questions or any reflections? If not, I'll continue. So aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam. So the wise who know this, they worship me with all their hearts. So this is Srila Prabhupada, he says in a lecture, one who has understood this fact that God is the origin of all emanation, one who has understood this fact very nicely, scientifically, then by loving God, you love everything, universe. So so basically, if one loves God, then um, because Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita, mame vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So all the living entities are his separated parts, are his parts and parcels. So one who understands this is naturally he starts loving everybody else. Like so so there is a story in this regard which Srila Prabhupada explains. So there was a hunter who was half killing animals and then leaving them to die without completely killing them. Boars and other kinds of animals, deers, and so on and so forth. And Narad Muni, once he was going through a path and he noticed that these animals are half killed and this is really horrible. So he found out the hunter and asked him, why are you half killing the animals and leaving them to die in this way? Better kill them completely. Jose, this is my profession. I have to do this. Um, so Narad Muni preached to him, and um, he became a devotee. And then he asked, okay, this was my profession. If I'm not supposed to kill animals, then what am I supposed to do? And Narad Muni says, I will provide you. You just perform devotional service. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita that he provides what we lack. So this hunter, he became a devotee, and he started um, chanting the holy names and performing devotional service. And everybody else in the village noticed that, oh, this hunter, what a transformation he has by the mercy of Narad Muni, he has become a devotee. And they started providing him with all sorts of whatever he needed, all sorts of prasadam and things like that. So once Narad Muni then he asked his friend that, okay, I have this disciple of mine, why don't we go to see him? So his friend is Parvat Muni, and both of them we see here, they come to see him. And the hunter, who was initially half killing animals, um, didn't even want to step on an ant. He was jumping here and there. So here we see that someone who becomes a devotee, his heart becomes so soft that he does not even want to hurt an ant. Just like this man, this hunter, this is from Prabhupada's lecture. He loved God. He became lover of the ant automatically. There was no need of separate education. That you love this ant, you love this cow, you love this tree, love this country, love this man, love white man, black man, this man. No. As soon as you love God and understanding what is God, then you love everything. So in this context, I wanted to share a section from the Journey Within by Radhanath Maharaj. So there was an incident. I'll just read that section. So he's in Delhi airport. I'm just quoting him. I was eager to get to the airport. I had just come from Vrindavan, where I had taken about 5,000 people on pilgrimage. So I here refers to Radhanath Maharaj. So he is writing. I was looking forward to a little quiet time while I waited for my flight. But a woman at my gate informed me that sitting across the way was Maneka Gandhi, the National Minister for Environment and Forests and daughter-in-law of former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. She wanted to talk to me, the woman said. I obliged. Seeing me agree, Mrs. Gandhi walked over and greeted me with a Namaste Swamiji. After a short but pleasant exchange, her tone sharpened. What are you spiritual leaders doing to protect the environment? She asked. I could feel her passion. It was clear this was not a rhetorical question. Every second, the air is being polluted with a cancerous smog, she said. Tons of raw sewage and toxic waste are dumped hourly into rivers where millions of people bathe and drink. The earth is being stripped of its forests and has become a dumping ground for deadly waste. The world is on the brink of ecological disaster. While you spiritualists spend your time meditating and praying, what is all your devotion doing to save the ecology? So Maharaj is saying, what was it doing? I had to agree with her. The environment is everyone's responsibility, including mine. So here we see, we will read how Maharaj reconciles that in a few minutes. Um, but we see here that someone who is God conscious, he is um, he for him not just every living entity. It's also he takes care of everything. So Maharaj continues, the first thing we can do is look at the problem from a deeper perspective. I told Mrs. Gandhi that it is not that spiritual leaders are doing nothing when they pray and meditate. Yes, it's vitally important to pass strong laws to protect the environment, but we also need to address the root cause of the problem. If a person is covered with boils, a doctor will treat the symptoms. But if he or she doesn't address the underlying cause, inevitably they will recur or the body will develop some other disease. The root cause of environmental pollution is pollution within the ecology of the human heart. Even if we manage to clean the air, rivers, and oceans, people will pollute them again unless they reform their internal ecology. A toxic greed has contaminated people's minds. What's happening to the environment is an external manifestation of the ecology of the mind. Greed is an obsession, an addiction. It can never be satisfied. The more you get, the more you want. Greed hardens the heart and allows us to rationalize cruelty and justify crime. Greed inspires envy, divides families, provokes wars, and blinds us to our real self interest. The world is ravaged by greed, greed for money, power, fame, sex. It's an exercise in futility to try to clean up the environment when corrupt politicians accept bribes from industrialists who pollute the rivers to maximize their profits, and scientists put aside ethics for funding. The Bhagavad-gita calls greed a symptom of ignorance, which covers the natural virtues of the soul. So when spiritual practitioners are praying and meditating, they are also teaching by example how to purify the inner ecology. Spiritual science is the science of cleansing the heart and exploring the joy of living in harmony with the Supreme Being, each other, and nature. Reducing carbon emissions is important, but it's short sighted when not coupled with reducing the toxic emissions from the heart. And that's something spiritual leaders are supposed to teach, and something all thinking people should work toward. So here, Radhat Maharaj is clearly explaining that the duty of spiritual practitioners is that praying and meditating. They're also teaching by example how to purify the inner ecology. So this purification of the heart is what we saw here in the hunter, who was so purified that he didn't even want to hurt a single ant, and what to speak of uh, polluting a river or cutting a tree or things like that. So here is the formula that Krishna gives for world peace. It's in 529. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantam richati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So Krishna here says that he's the ultimate beneficiary. Of all yajnas, of all austerities, and he's the supreme lord. Aham Adir Hi Devana says, and he is the Suhruda. He is the best friend. So there is a friend and Suhridam. Suhridam is the best friend. Sarvabhutanam of all living entities. One who knows this, he attains lasting peace. Krishna says that. We'll just read the first paragraph here. The conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord because he is the proprietor of all planets and demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Sweta Swatar Upanishad 6.7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tamishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, the living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. Um, I'll just pause here. Are there any reflections or questions or any comments?
Very nice presentation, Prabhu. This is Ashram Madhav Das.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Very, you have very nice illustrations you got from the particularly the one we saw just now, right? When you love God, then you love everything. That picture you got, that was very nice there. And is looking at the ants.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that I think those munis are Parvata Muni and Narad Muni, I believe, right?
Yes, Parvat Muni and Narad Muni. Narad Muni's friend Parvat Muni.
There are in the online, I just now checked, Prabhu, there are no questions there.
Okay. Okay, so I have a few more. Let's continue then. Okay, so watering the root. So Krishna. So this is from the Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 31st verse, 31st chapter, 14th verse. Yatha taror mula nisechanena tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashakha pranopahara cha yathendriyanam tathaiva sarvahanam achyuteja. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, simply worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of that Supreme Personality. So, if somebody wants the entire tree to be nourished, the gardener will always advise us to water the root of the tree, because that way the water just can be easily supplied to all the leaves and branches of the tree. Similarly, if one wants to um, get nourishment, one has to simply supply food to the stomach. That way everything else gets nourished. So similarly, worshipping Krishna, everybody else is satisfied. Yasmin Tishtam Jagat Tishtam. When Krishna is satisfied, everyone else is satisfied. So the few lines from this purport we can also read. It's really nice. Sometimes people ask why this Krishna consciousness movement simply advocates worship of Krishna to the exclusion of the demigods. The answer is given in this verse. The example of pouring water on the root of a tree is very appropriate. In the Bhagavad-gita 15.1, it is said, Urdhva Moolam Adha Shakham. This cosmic manifestation has expanded downward, and the root is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord confirms in Bhagavad-gita 10.8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Krishna is the root of everything. Therefore, rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, means automatically serving all the demigods. Sometimes it is argued that karma and jnana require a mixture of bhakti in order to be successfully executed, and sometimes it is argued that bhakti also requires karma and jnana for its successful termination. The fact is, however, that although karma and jnana cannot be successful without bhakti, bhakti does not require the help of karma and jnana. So not to go into details about karma, jnana, and bhakti, but here basically, essentially, Krishna is the root. So if one worships Krishna, then one automatically satisfies everything else. Okay, so that was one thing, and this is the last part that I wanted to discuss today was the right source, um, which Prabhupada mentions at the end of the purport. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad-gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. So, so it's vitally important that one actually does one's due diligence in trying to find out a authorized source. For example, for instance, um, when one tries to go for a medical school, one would do one's due diligence in finding out which is the proper, is the school accredited by the government, is the school, um, uh, are there, who are the professors who are teaching in that school, and things like that, and so on and so forth. One always does that research. When one tries to apply for a loan, everybody would want to know um, and have all the affairs in order. So, so similarly, even uh, in terms of Krishna consciousness, in terms of spiritual life, one should always try to find out the correct source, and there are. So here we see that there is Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He comes in an unbroken chain of spiritual masters, um, starting from Krishna here, then Krishna spoke to Brahma, then Narada, and then we have um, um, Vyasadev, and so on and so forth, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das, Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada. So, so when it is in an unbroken chain, then it's authorized, and that's why Prabhupada named Bhagavad Gita as it is. So when one follows something in an authorized disciplic succession, one will not be bewildered by someone, like for instance someone uh, there can be in many crazy ideas that maybe now someone may say or say himself as claim oneself as God, for instance, um, which is crazy uh, just for the sake of it. But when one follows something, when one follows an authority and authorized um, disciplic succession, one knows, for instance, for example, the qualities of Bhagwan that we touched upon initially. A living entity, for instance, um, cannot be Bhagavan. Okay, so just to summarize how to know about Krishna. So these are the few points that we can summarize from the purport. By hearing from bona fide authorities. Um, bona fide authorities are those who come in a disciplic succession. Studying the scriptures, and information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna himself. Understanding knowledge by applying the teachings and not to be deviated by unauthorized commentaries. Okay. So the final section, Buddha Bhava Samanvita. The meaning is, so this is from a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. The meaning is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of everything. Everything is emanating from him. When one understands this fact, he becomes Buddha, or intelligent. And when one is actually intelligent, Buddha Bhava Samanvita, ecstasy. to come to the spiritual platform, this ecstasy is required. So no one has to come to the platform of, so one has to come to the platform of bhava or ecstasy gradually. So how does one come to that stage? Sorry. So the secret sauce is association. Ado Shraddha. So initially one has a little bit of initially one has Shraddha. Sorry. Ado Shraddha. So initially one has Shraddha. Tatha Sadhu Sangha. So one takes association. Then Anartha Nivritti. Then the next step is one one gets rid of anarthas, and then Ado Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajana Kriya. And Bhajana Kriya is the performance of devotional service, and then Anartha Nivritti. So Anartha Nivritti is the stage where one gets rid of the anarthas such as lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion. So these are the things which are unwanted things which are in the heart. And by the process of devotional service, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, the heart, one can cleanse the heart because of this. So the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. There's a lot more that can be said about this, but I think there's a hand raised. Ashray Madhaprabhu, you had something to say.
Haribol Prabhu. Prabhu, in YouTube there are some questions and comments. Should I go ahead and read out?
Please go ahead.
Okay. So one R. Bolan Prabhu is saying, it's amazing the contrast of the three Purushas, full of power and intellect, versus the devotees not wanting to step on ants. Both power and humility emanate from the same source.
That was a comment?
That was a comment, yeah, not a question. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, please go ahead. Next.
There is a question, and then there is one Prabhu is saying, Jagadananda Jaina Prabhu is saying, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, wonderful presentation, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
And then Shivam Srivastava Prabhu is asking, how is Krishna also the source of all the misery if he is all perfect? That's the last question.
Okay. So, so Krishna does not interfere in the free will of the living entity. So a free will is a very powerful concept. So so in the Bhagavad-gita at the end we see that Yate chasi tatha kuru. Krishna says, after he explains the entire Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says to Arjuna that, yeah, you're free to do whatever you want to do. So Maya, so in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Krishna Surya Sama, Maya ho Andhakar, Jaha Krishna Surya Sama, Maya ho Andhakar, Jaha, I'm just forgetting that section.
Jaha hoy Krishna taha mayar noy adhikar.
Jaha nai Krishna, taha nai mayar adhikar, something like that. Yeah. So so wherever there is, so it's like when we turn towards Krishna, we are in light, but when we turn away, we are in darkness. So so it's basically we have turned ourselves away from Krishna. So that's the reason one is put into this misery. One is put into, so Krishna says, Dukkhalayam asaswatam. Just like we have Chikitsalaya, we have Aushadalaya. So Chikitsalaya is where one goes and gets Chikitsha, or Himalaya, for example. Chikitsa means one gets treated for anything, and similarly Himalaya, that's the Himalaya is a place where you can find him or snow. For example, the Himalayas, they're a board of snow. So the material world Krishna is described as Dukhalaya Saswatam, and the purpose is um, one understands that this will not inherently satisfy us. Trying to lord it over material nature is not something that will satisfy the living entity. It's like there is some amount of pleasure involved, but it's just like a very small drop, and that's it, and then there isn't anything else. It's gone. So yeah, so this material world is meant for it's also it's compared to uh, a jail, and and Brahmanda. So the material world is like so just like in a jail, there are various kinds of A class cells, B class cells, C class cells, and things like that. So so the mode, so there are three modes. Not to go deep into the modes, but so just like in a prison, there are various prisoners. So similarly, but the purpose of the prison is for reformation, so that they can be reformed and they can go home, go back, and they become good citizens. So similarly, the material world is also designed in a way so that um, so so that one gets reformed and then goes back home, back to Krishna. So that was a long kind of answer, but yes, Krishna is the source of everything, but it's when we turn away from Krishna, that's when we face misery. Was there anything else, Prabhu, or?
No, Prabhu, no more questions.
Okay.
That was the last one.
Thank you so much. So we'll just end here. We'll just have a 2-minute kirtan, and then we can end. Is that all right, Ashramada Prabhu?
For Kirtan?
Yeah.
Prabhu, I am not the host actually. Host is whomever is saying ISV there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That person. I'm just watching the online Q&A.
I see. Okay. So we'll just have so
Yeah, yeah.
Srila Prabhupada
Kirtan is always good, Prabhu. There is no need to ask permission.
yeah, we should start with kirtan and end with kirtan.
Yes. Sankirtan Yagya for Kali Yuga.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so thank you so much for listening in. So we will end the session here, and so hope to join. Hope you will join us again for our next sessions on Saturdays and Sunday. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah. Antariksh Prabhu ki jai.